How long does it take to become great at something? Really think about it. Not just fair or good, but great. Outliers, the story of success by Malcolm Gladwell, attempts to answer and understand these questions by examining the factors that contribute to high levels of success. It's not enough to ask what successful people are like, it is only by asking where they are from that we can unravel the logic behind who succeeds and who doesn't. Throughout the book he discusses how family, culture and friendship each play a role in an individual's success, and he constantly asks whether successful people deserve the praise we give them. Outliers, where we get the common attribution of the 10,000 hour rule, meaning it takes an average of 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to be great at something. This figure of 10,000 hours came from research in Germany by Anders Ericsson and a team of psychologists in the early 90s. They studied violin students at the Music Academy of West Berlin, specifically their practice habits in childhood, adolescence and adulthood. All of the subjects were asked this question: over the course of your entire career, ever since you first picked up a violin, how many hours have you practiced? All of the violinists had begun playing at roughly the age of 5, with similar practice times. However, at the age of 8, practice times began to diverge. By the age of 20, the elite performers averaged more than 10,000 hours of practice each, whilst the less able performers had only 4,000 hours of practice. One fascinating part of the study was that no naturally gifted performers emerged. If natural talent had played a role, we would expect that some of the naturals would float to the top of the elite levels with fewer practice hours than everybody else. But the data showed otherwise. The psychologists found a direct statistical relationship between the hours of practice and the achievement. So you now know the background, let's look at the 4 key lessons that you can take from the book. Number 1, the role of chance in the system. You can't affect when and where you're born, but it will affect you in many ways. The book begins with the observation that a disproportionate number of elite Canadian hockey players are born in the first few months of the calendar year. The reason is that since Youth Hockey League determines eligibility by calendar year, children born in January 1st play in the same league as those born in December 31st of the same year. Because children born earlier in the year are bigger and more mature than the younger competitors, they are often identified as better athletes. This leads to extra coaching and a higher likelihood of being selected for elite hockey leagues. This phenomenon, in which the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, is dubbed a cumulative advantage by Gladwell, asserting that success depends on the idiosyncrasies of the selection process used to identify talent, just as much as it does on the athlete's natural abilities. The lesson to take from this is to really assess the systems in place to feedback on your performance, and look at inherent advantages and biases and leverage them in your favour. Given the randomness of this, you can often find you have a good mixture of both pros and cons. 2. Circumstances of success. Be in the right place at the right time. Within the book, Gladwell interviews Bill Gates and focuses on the opportunity given to him throughout his lifetime that has led to his success. You already know how Microsoft was founded. Bill Gates and Paul Allen dropped out of college to form the company in 1975. It's that simple. Drop out of college, start a company and become a billionaire, right? Wrong. First, the 2 co-founders met in Lakeside, an elite private school in the Seattle area. The school raised $3,000 to purchase a computer terminal for the school's computer club in 1968. A computer terminal in university was rare in 1968, meaning Gates had access to some of the leading technology of his time in only the 8th grade. Gates and Allen quickly became addicted to programming. The Gates family lived near the University of Washington. As a teenager, Gates fed his programming addiction by sneaking out of his parents' home to use the university's computer. So when it came time to launch Microsoft in 1975, the two had already established themselves as masters of programming. So what lesson can you take from this? You can't do much about the circumstances of your birth. However, you can do a lot to put yourself around people who can positively impact your life. Start networking now. Use LinkedIn, attend networking events, seminars, conferences and talks. It's no surprise that your income and relative success will reflect your 5 closest friends. 3. Falling in love with practice. The Beatles' German Crucible. In 1960, while they were still an unknown high school rock band, the Beatles went to Hamburg, Germany to play in local clubs. The group were underpaid, the acoustics were terrible, the audience was unappreciative. So what did the Beatles get out of the Hamburg experience? Hours of playing time. As the Beatles grew in skill, audiences demanded more shows, meaning more playing time. By 1962, they were playing 8 hours a night, 7 nights a week. By 1964, the year they burst onto the international scene, the Beatles had played more than 1,200 concerts together. By way of comparison, most bands today don't play 1,200 times in their entire career. The elite don't just work harder than everybody else. At some point, the elites fall in love with the practice, to the point that they want to do little else. This is the crux of the 10,000 hour rule. So what lesson can you take from this? Put in the work. To reach the 10,000 hour rule for success in any field, it's simply a matter of practicing specific tasks relevant to mastery. Some points on this include: choose a field and practice for 10,000 hours. If you are currently working in your target profession, 40 hours per week over 5 years would give you the required 10,000 hours. If not and you can't quit, then perhaps take up the thing as a hobby. 10 hours a week for 20 years and you'll reach the same level of mastery. This will work for all things. You want to become great at guitar, fishing, sewing, cooking, baking, whatever it is, put in the hours. You can also look at the question in reverse. Where have you already logged 10,000 hours of practice? What is it that you do really well? What task do you perform so well that people ask, how did you do that? Sometimes when we fall in love with practice, we don't even recognise it. The secret is consistency. Hence why you need to have a love of what you're doing. You'll enter a virtuous cycle where when you practice, you get feedback and you can improve. Number 4, the opportunity to succeed, using every tool in your toolbox. You probably know J. Robert Oppenheimer as the theoretical physicist that worked on the Manhattan Project to become the father of the atomic bomb. However, Gladwell argues that Oppenheimer's affluent background gave him the skills necessary to become successful, continuously reminding the reader that genius is not the only or even the most important thing when determining a person's success. He juxtaposed Oppenheimer's rise to fame with the life of Christopher Langan, a man who ended up owning a horse farm in rural Missouri despite having an IQ of 195. Gladwell points out that Langan has not reached a high level of success because of the dysfunctional environment in which he grew up, with no one in Langan's life and nothing in his background to help him take advantage of his exceptional gifts. He had to find success by himself. Noting that they typify innate natural abilities that should have helped them both succeed in life, Gladwell argues that Oppenheimer's upbringing made a pivotal difference in his life. Oppenheimer grew up in one of the wealthiest neighbourhoods in Manhattan, was the son of a successful businessman and a painter, attended school in Central Park West and was afforded a childhood of luxury and culture. Outliers argues that these opportunities gave Oppenheimer the chance to develop the practical intelligence necessary to succeed. To demonstrate this, he uses an anecdote of when Oppenheimer was a student at the University of Cambridge. He attempted to poison one of his tutors. He avoided punishment and continued his studies by using the skills gained from his cultivated upbringing in his negotiation with the university administration, which wanted to expel him. The lesson you can take from this is when you spot an opportunity, use every tool you have available to succeed. Leverage relationships and contacts, ensure you're doing all you can for success. Research the subject, mirror and model what other successful people have done to achieve in your field, whatever it may be. Because until you've done that, you can't say you've done it all. In conclusion, Gladwell notes that success is not exceptional or mysterious. It is grounded in a web of advantages and inheritances. Some deserved, some not. Some earned, some just plain lucky. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more exclusive content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below.